I remember living in Tucson, Arizona, and walking around the train tracks and the alleys and finding just steel on the ground, like remnants of steel, and thinking like, oh, I should be making something out of this stuff. It's here, it's free, and there's, you know, it's nicely rusted, patinaed, like already kind of a beautiful object. So I decided to kind of transfer my interest away from the non-ferrous to the ferrous metals, and started learning to weld, and I went to school and learned to forge. And I primarily have interest in working with mild steel. Started with clay, but it just wasn't quite what I wanted out of a material. So when I started working with metal, I kind of got a little bit more of the lines that I wanted, and I could actually produce something that I thought was quite functional. Not that it's more functional than clay, but it was actually kind of broadened what I could make. Primarily in my own production and my own designs have been making cutlery that are functional, but also sculptural in nature. What the spoon and the fork represents to me can be traced back to like my family growing up. It represented a time where a family would gather around a meal, and we would take turns, like who was setting the table, and I always had the fork and the spoon and the knife. And I think that represented some sort of connection. I also played a lot with these objects because I didn't have a lot of toys. So I would play with forks and knives and spoons as they were like little characters of like a family. And then growing up trans and queer and kind of queering these objects have been really interesting to me. Making individual forks and individual spoons, not necessarily as a set, but as their own piece. And they have been used as function or sculptural. I kind of want to expand the idea of what cutlery is and like what our connection to it is, and how it like that simple design impacts our daily life. Just messing around in the studio, and I had a spoon and I didn't really like the shape of the handle. So I was cutting into it, just like slivering one edge off, and then I stopped and I pulled it away and immediately started playing with it like it was like chopsticks. And I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't even thought of this. And then that just kind of fell onto me. I'm kind of really curious actually about what people use them for. It's kind of 50-50, I get. Half of the people using the objects as, you know, like every day in their kitchen, like either to like scoop their coffee or their honey, or they travel with. So the other half is people use it as a display. Like it's on their mantle, it's like up on their wall, you know, it's just something that they're like, I'm afraid to use this. This is too nice, you know, like it's nice. And I just kind of like it as an object, and then, which is also wonderful, but they're both of value to me. I like the idea of somebody having these pieces as something that they can hold on to and keep around for their life. Whoever the owner is, I want the longevity to be a part of the piece. Ideally, I would like to continue making the cutlery, utensils, and the other functional objects that kind of reference daily use, but I also have kind of allowed myself to get a little bit more creative and sculptural. I do get excited about being able to kind of just like creatively let myself just make and go in any direction, whatever direction that takes me in. And I want to continue trying to, you know, change my scope of like what I'm able to do and challenge myself to just continue learning, because I have still a lot to learn, and I imagine it'll be a lifetime of growing and learning.